155,201,157 votes in the 2024 US presidential election. But then only 538 electoral votes, and if you get 270 electoral votes, you win the presidency of the United States. But then how did we compress 155 million votes into just 538? Well, that's how the US Electoral College works, and today I'm gonna explain the math behind it. The first thing is this: it's not one big national vote pile. You don't add up every single vote and then see which candidate has the most. No, it's more like people vote, and then the states they vote in decide a winner, and then blocks or electoral votes are added, and then whoever has the most is the winner. But what are electoral votes and how are they decided? Well, there are 51 jurisdictions, meaning the 50 states and then Washington, D.C., which votes separately. And then you have Maine and Nebraska, which are split electors, meaning they use a different, weirder system. But then with 51, you get 538. How do we get that? Well, here's where the math comes in. If we want to figure out how many electoral votes a state has, we start with this thankfully simple equation. The number of electoral votes a state has equals the number of seats it has in the House of Representatives plus 2, because each state has 2 senators. So let's test it. California has 52 representatives, plus 2, 54 electoral votes. Pennsylvania, 17 plus 2 is 19. Wyoming, 1 plus 2, 3 electoral votes. It's that simple. But the Electoral College is also a winner-takes-all system, meaning if a candidate wins the state by just 2 votes, they win all the electoral votes. And if a candidate wins the state by millions of votes, they still get the same amount of electoral votes. The margin you win by doesn't mean you win more votes. If you win even by the slightest majority, you take all the electoral votes, which is why things like swing states are super important in elections. Now let's watch this play out with real election maps. In the year 2000, Bush beat Al Gore 271 to 266, just barely crossing the 270 line with the famous cliffhanger in the state of Florida. But because of the way the Electoral College works, George Bush got elected without having more than half the votes in the country. He just won the Electoral College. But jump to 2008 and the map looks dramatically different, with several states flipped blue, and John McCain having 173 electoral votes and Obama with 365. But then jump to 2016, and this one's fascinating because just small margins in a few states changed the entire map, causing an unexpected result and letting Donald Trump win with 306 electoral votes and Hillary Clinton with 232. And then finally, just 2 years ago in 2024, Donald Trump won again with 312 electoral votes and Kamala Harris with only 226. But remember, every year the map changes a lot, but then the rule stays the same. You win states, and then you collect weighted blocks, or electoral votes. Now here's one more mathematical plot twist. Remember that little plus 2? Yeah, it changes how much population sits behind each electoral vote. If we divide a state's population by its electoral votes, we get something like people per electoral vote. And those numbers aren't the same everywhere. Smaller states usually have fewer people behind each electoral vote, while larger states have more. That doesn't mean the math is broken, it just means that this system was designed to balance population and state representation at the same time. And whether you think that's a good idea or a bad one is a completely separate conversation. But mathematically, that's exactly what the Electoral College is doing. Here's what's super interesting. Look at 2024. On the left is the popular vote. Trump had about 77.3 million votes. Harris had about 75 million. So nationally, the difference is a little over 2 million votes, which is a lead, but these bars are still pretty close to each other. But look at the Electoral College, 312 to 226. That looks like a much bigger blowout. And that's exactly the point. The Electoral College doesn't preserve the exact size of the national vote margin. The popular vote and the Electoral College are two different but related measures of the vote. But the Electoral College is the only measure that counts. Now that was a lot, so let's put it all together. The entire Electoral College can basically be written as one equation. Don't worry, it looks way scarier than it actually is. For every single state, ask one question. Did this candidate win? If yes, add that state's electoral votes. If no, add nothing. Do that 51 times. Add everything together. If the total reaches 270, you win. That's it. So the next time you're looking at an election map, don't just see red and blue and Democrats and Republicans, see a giant mathematical system. It's a weighted graph and collection of equations with 51 separate contests, all combining into one final number. This was my 4th of July special. Happy 250th birthday, America. Wow, 1776 to 2026. It's crazy to live through such a historic moment like this. We have one map, many states, and one strange election machine. Happy 250th birthday, America, and happy 4th of July, even though I'm a little bit late.